From the center of the universe, now in its 7th season covering your 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts, it's the X's and Argos podcast with Argos color analyst Ben Grant and Coach JB.
Yes, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? Welcome to the X's and Argos podcast, brought to you by Something in the Water Brewing. Ben Grant, joined as always by JB, as the Argos lose 47-29 to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and with it, lose their playoff hopes for 2025. We've got all sorts of stuff to recap for you as we go through this one, break it all down. But before we get to that, and before we get to the radio replays, let me tell you about Something in the Water Brewing. Awesome to hear the great feedback from everyone that made it down there today to try out the new tacos from Goes Taco. They are a huge hit as anticipated. Plus, they've got their award-winning beer, Longboat, the beer that is made for you, for fans of the Double Blue. And I love that our listeners are now experimenting with all of the other stuff they've got there too. And it's all good feedback. Whatever you like as a beer, they've got an answer for you. Make sure that you check it out when you're in Liberty Village next time. Something in the Water Brewing. They've been a great sponsor for us over the last couple of seasons. And there's so much good stuff to try down there, even more so now with Ghost Taco. You've got to go down there for a drink, grab a bite to eat too. Something in the Water Brewing. All right, JB, before we get into this breakdown let's hear, it's going to be a shorter section than normal, but here's Mike Hogan from the highlights of today's game and our radio replays on TSN 1050.
Mitchell back to pass. Looking as all day. Now it closes in and down he goes back on the 49-yard line. We'll see who gets credit for it. I think it's going to be Jamin Pelly. Also in there was Joe Wallace in his CFL debut.
I actually wanted to see if Bo threw this ball. I want to see if a flag was going to come out, because Coulter Woodmansey was way downfield, not because it was a screen or anything like that, but Andrew Chatfield was part of the rush, and then he backed way off, and Woodmansey went after him, was actually blocking Chatfield about 5 yards downfield.
See if they can get 5 or 6 here at least. DiGi gets hit, down he goes, ball is out, and it's picked up by a lineman who's going to pitch it outside to the 50. Herslow's got it to the 45-yard line. Well, they got the 5 yards that they wanted. Maybe not the way that they wanted it, but the Argos will be in field goal range after an interesting play by Hampton Urgle.
Yeah, Hampton Urgle did not think he was going to be getting any carries today, but that is actually not only a heads-up play to be able to pick up the football and charge forward with it, but then to be able to lateral it cleanly to Herslow to get those yards needed to try a field goal. Without that, this isn't a field goal attempt. Toronto's either punting the ball away or maybe Hamilton even recovers.
Hyrola, who's 4 for 4 today, including a 53-yarder. This is from 51. It's up, it's long, it's good! Ticats have it for the first time, and they want to go to the well, and it's picked off at midfield. McFadden has it. Tavares McFadden down to the 43-yard line. That might be what the Argos needed, and McFadden turns around and chirps the Ticat bench.
I can't believe Billy Levi Mitchell threw that football. So you had Willie Drew in coverage down the sideline, but McFadden was drifting out that way from the halfback spot. Mitchell never saw him. He just saw what he thought was Drew getting beat on a comeback, but Drew had over top. He wasn't looking for that underneath stuff, and so McFadden came over. He had all day to settle under that one, read that from the beginning, and that was an easy interception.
That will tie him for the lead with Tavon Campbell from Saskatchewan. They've got 6 apiece. At the 18-yard line, moving from right to left, following the left hash mark, 4 receivers now, out to the right. Play action. DiGi rolls to the right, rolling. Looked like he was going to run. He'll throw it to the 5. Touchdown. Yes. Getting off the tackler and getting into the end zone is Dave Ungerer III. And not only does he get the touchdown, but he sets his own personal best in terms of yardage in a season. So the Argos are not dead yet. It's 32-18.
I love that play design. It's a rollout to the right. There was only one receiver to the left in Herslow, and he motioned towards the center pre-snap, ended up over on that right side of the field. So they had 6 receivers over there. There was just too many guys to cover in zone, and it was easy for DiGi to buy some time and then find Ungerer for the touchdown.
Snap is good, and there's some pressure. Haggerty will get it away. It'll bounce at the 40, and it'll be Wooden at the 35. and it'll be taken down at the 40. And the Argos rip it out. They've got it. Are they going to say down by contact? The Argos have the football. We'll see if it stands. I think that was Kassar that ripped it out, and I didn't see who fell on it.
If I were Hamilton, I would be furious that this wasn't blown dead. We've seen this exact same play blown dead many times this season. Wooden was wrapped up. His momentum was stopped, but Kassar ripped away at the football. So did Hansen. I don't know which one of them actually got it free, but that is a huge swing for the Toronto Argonauts.
I don't care if you have both hands on the football. If those two guys are trying to rip it out, it's probably coming out. They're going to bring pressure from depth. Mitchell steps up, and down he goes, back at the 25-yard line. They get to him, and that's going to be Dozier with the sack.
I really like that decision to send pressure there, because you know that Bo's not just going to throw it up. He knows he can't turn the ball over there, and so unless he was 100% sure he was going to hang on to that football, pressure got through, and he basically conceded the sack and went down.
Dozier had a sack on Labor Day against his former team. He's got another one now today. Back to pass is DiGi. Gets the crossing route. He's got Mittal. His first catch of the day is a first down inside the 5. He just shoot away the tackler and scored the touchdown. Kicking the ball into the end zone. Kevin Mittal with a beast mode move, and the Argos are in the end zone. They're not dead yet.
What a fantastic individual effort from Kevin Mittal. Again, DiGi had to get that ball out quickly. There was pressure coming from his left side, a free runner coming right at him. Kevin Mittal with just a drag route across the field. DiGi hit him in stride, and then I have no idea how Kevin Mittal made it to the end zone. It looked like he was going to be wrapped up by about 3 different Ticats at the 7 or 8 yard line, but he worked his way all the way into the end zone, and the Argos now kicking to bring this one within 2 scores.
So, JB, I'll turn it over to you first. What are your initial thoughts on this one as the Argos drop a 47-29 decision that didn't really even feel that close?
Well, first, I would like to hear the off-air radio commentary, if possible, if that's a feed that you could put in as well to complement the on-air.
It is not.
Yeah, it was a terrible game from beginning to end. The first half was almost unwatchable, and then the third quarter, the Argos made a game of it, and then the fourth quarter, the wheels came off, or the one wheel they had put on the wagon came off. And it was, obviously losing Arbuckle early dug them even deeper into the hole that they had started in. And in all honesty, anybody who coaches knows, football is an incredibly demanding, physical, violent game, and it asks more of your body than your body is designed to give at the professional level. And sometimes you're just not able to do that when the game doesn't have a large significance. It's not a matter of not trying. It's just natural. It's just when you don't have that sort of edge of the cliff, you're just not able to do it. It's why you get blowouts in football sometimes. You just can't trick your mind into abusing your body at the same level when it just isn't going to count. So part of it is in the mix as well. I think they did some okay things today, but obviously a lot of their flaws were pretty exposed by a playoff team.
The first half, as you said, was where the game was lost. They won the second half, but it was too late.
Kind of.
I think, on the scoreboard, they won 20-15 in the second half, but it was it was too late. The game was basically already over there, and we'll talk about a few things. It's basically the first plays for both the offense and the defense. The first play for the defense, the very opening play, was a bust. I think it was Bratton. I'm not sure. He had a tough day today. This wasn't his best. I think he's played some really good football this season. This was not Darius Bratton's best day to my eye on first watch here. He struggled. There was a bust in the secondary. Ended up being a huge play down the sideline. And that almost immediately turned into a Hamilton touchdown. It was Kenny Lawler who got it. And he, of course, had a big day. But just it's so deflating defensively when you plan and prepare all week and you know what you're planning and preparing for and you feel good about the game plan and you get out there and on the very first play there's a mental mistake for a huge gain. It just absolutely takes all the wind out of your sails, and that's what the Argos dealt with on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, on the very first series, Nick Arbuckle gets knocked out of the game with what looked like a shoulder, collarbone, something injury like that. He was in a sling, never came back in. So he had 2 snaps, 1 passing attempt, was knocked to the ground violently. It looked to me like he fumbled on the play too, and of course Hamilton recovered and got another score. They're up 10-0 before anyone even found their seats. But it looked to me like he was hit so hard from the backside. He had initially stepped up in the pocket, looked to scramble out to his left, and kind of lost track of the guy behind him, the defensive end who had rushed by him. And that defensive end came back, I think it might have been Hauser, I'm not sure, Osai maybe, and just leveled Arbuckle. And I think it was probably the force with which he hit the ground that caused the injury. The impact is what caused the fumble, and that ball was loose. But you talk about, like, you couldn't have started out worse between the bust on defense, the lost fumble, and injury to already your second-string quarterback, and then Jarrett DiGi had to go in there and throw 50 passes. That's just not a recipe for success.
It was not a recipe. Yeah, there were a couple of bad busts in the secondary for huge plays. I don't know who had deep and who didn't. In both cases, the corner clearly felt like they had flats. So I don't know who, but I mean, it was a bust. There was nobody deep. So those are deflating because those are mental mistakes as opposed to getting beat in a route. The offensive line had a really hard day. I mean, DiGi holds on to the ball way too long. That's the nature of being an inexperienced quarterback. But the offensive line had a really hard day. I think the game is very much a microcosm of the areas that need to be looked at in the offseason in terms of defensive line being able to get pressure, offensive line being able to hold up in obvious passing downs. The running game, there were a couple of flashes, that looked okay, but, Hamilton sort of did what they wanted a lot, and DiGi, made some good passes, but also, had some terrible sacks where he has to get rid of the ball, and, you talk about that
most
opening.
of them on the offensive line. I think the safety I thought was DiGi's fault, and there was another sack that I thought was his fault. I think most of them today were a result of poor offensive line play.
Yeah, it hurt. You talk about that opening play being deflating. It is for sure, but there's nothing more deflating than bowing up after that long bust to keep them to a field goal, and then immediately the offense giving the ball to the defense on a turnover. I can tell you from the defensive point of view, that's just the worst feeling in the world, that you recovered, you did well, and now here's a short field courtesy of a fumble.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And this was not just a poor performance from the Toronto offense and defense. It was almost CFL record setting. The Hamilton Tiger Cats ended up with 9 sacks. 10, I believe, is the record. And this could have been 11. There was one play that I thought was going to get registered as a sack, but it was just a tackle for loss. And then the 10th sack actually came on the second last play of the game, but Hamilton was offside. And you say, well, why wouldn't you just accept the penalty, end the game, or decline the penalty, end the game, get off the field? Because you don't want a CFL record on your books as giving up 10 sacks to your hated rival, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And so the Argos accepted that penalty, ran a draw play on the next play of the game to avoid getting stuck in that record book of shame where you never want to be.
Do you think they... Because we were wondering sort of some conversations in the press box. Do you think they did not go for touchdowns that took field goals because they felt the line would not be able to hold up in obvious passing situations in those cases?
in part because they couldn't. They did not hold up.
Yeah.
Like Hampton Urgle really struggled today. I don't know how many of the sacks were charged to him, but quite a number of them. And DiGi took so many hits where he just got rid of the football and he was smoked in the back by either Osai or who else was hitting him nonstop. I can look down my sack list here. There was a lot from Hauser. I think he was probably, I would say, Hauser had 4 sacks on the day, aside 3, and those are all coming off the edge. I actually felt bad for Hampton Urgle because he's a better football player than that. I don't think he's a tackle. And the problem is, like, he never played tackle in college. He was an interior guy. But at 6'7", 330, he's got the body of a tackle, but he played center and guard at East Carolina. And if you're going to have an American offensive lineman in the CFL, you're budgeting him for a tackle spot. Like, you can find Canadian centers, you can find Canadian guards. Americans generally are your tackles in the CFL because there are more of them, and it's a much harder position to fill. And the odds of you finding an American tackle are greater than a Canadian tackle because there's a billion more of them. And so with Hampton Urgle, a very accomplished guard in college, and I think a really intelligent football player, but it's pretty clear that's just not the position for him, at least not right now. I thought his first start was very rough. This one was probably worse today. It would have been a painful afternoon for him.
Yeah, they need to improve the line. I mean, there's no doubt that has been one of the significant issues that, guys having down years combined with new guys not being quite what they hoped they would be, people being hit by cars and injuries. But really just the line hasn't gelled, and it's hard to kind of put your finger on it other than, look, sometimes people have down years. Professional athletes sometimes have down years. Sometimes, guys don't win 18 games every year in the majors. They might win 12 one year and then 4 the next. They just, for whatever reason, they didn't have it that year. And it was just sort of, I think, that case with the offensive line. But looking for a tackle is definitely going to be at the top of my off-season priority list.
Yeah, I think that has to be. And, I guess the positive side, if there is a positive side, if you're going to miss the playoffs of the Argos, it's better to know that now than in your last game of the season. Because if it's the last game of the season, you're trying to win, let's say the Argos won out, and in week 21, because of a Calgary, Winnipeg, or BC win or whatever, that's the moment you find out, okay, well, we're missing the playoffs. You don't have an opportunity to evaluate. The good thing about this situation now is you've got 2 more games left. You've got next week against Saskatchewan, Calgary the week after that, and the games no longer matter. You can test these guys out. You need offensive line help. You've got a bunch of guys in the practice squad. Now's the time to take a look at those guys. Let's see who can do what. You've got 2 quarterbacks who haven't taken a CFL snap in their careers. You can take a look at those guys in Max Duggan and Tucker Horn and see what they've got. I don't know, like Jared Diggy.
And you're on the road.
Yeah, you're on the road, right? Too. So you're
on
not,
the road,
yeah.
so who cares?
And Jared Diggy may not want to play another football game for a few weeks. He was such.
Today.
But what a trooper to stay out there. There were a few times where I thought he's going to have to come out of the game. He just got hit so hard on so many occasions, and always in the spine. And then he got landed on by Hauser, had to be pulled out of the grass. And it made a Diggy-sized divot in the backfield. It was such a rough physical game for him, and so for that reason alone, I might look to get Tucker Horn or Max Duggan sometime next week just to give Jared Diggy a break. And I think you got a real good sample size of him today, throwing. I don't think he got to the 50th pass. He had something like 62 dropbacks, but I think he only threw 49 passes, 7 shy of the Toronto Argonauts record set by Chad Kelly last season. So,
go on.
No, go ahead. No, I was just saying this was not like the recipe for success today for the Argos was not going to be Jared Diggy throwing 50 passes.
No, I believe they ended up at 30.3 in my combination average. So they went over my number. So that's probably one of the reasons why they weren't able to win today.
Yeah,
the 0.3. I said below 30, and they just weren't able to do that.
I don't know if that was the difference, but yes.
I mean, in all honesty, that means pretty good. Like pretty good specialist coverage, actually.
Special teams in general were good today. I thought Janarian Grant had a couple of nice returns. I thought he did fairly well, finding space where there really wasn't any, and I thought he made a couple very the team in general had some nice special teams tackles, and then of course they had that forced turnover too, like at that huge moment of the game, and that's where I really felt like things were going to turn for the positive for the Argos. They had worked their way back, and then suddenly we're in a situation where they forced a turnover. Wooden went into a pile of bodies. He had both hands on the football, so he was covering it up. He knew, I can't let this ball free. And both Jack Cassar and Teodric Hansen went in there ripping away at starting the lawnmower, and that ball came free. I think it was Cassar that ripped it. D'Arcangelo fell on it. And here was Toronto now down by 13 with the ball in Hamilton territory. You're like, wait a second, this game's not over yet. But it was special teams giving them a chance. That was the one unit that I feel showed up today and really came to play.
Yeah, they played really well. Like that 30 bar I set for them was actually a pretty aggressive number.
Very.
And essentially they met it, which is, hats off to them. I thought they played well. For me, the takeaway is that I don't see Hamilton. I think Hamilton is fine, but I don't think they're particularly good. I think Lawler is quite good.
He's very good.
And that, they have some okay parts, but I mean, they're a very, the Argos are not particularly good, and Hamilton I would put as fine. Now, there's nobody really great in the league this year, but I definitely have Hamilton number 2 behind Montreal with their quarterback.
Yeah, when Montreal is running with all their guys, they look like the best team in the league for me. Saskatchewan has moments, but they struggled a little bit yesterday with Ottawa. They had lost a couple weeks in a row coming into that one, so they certainly aren't a powerhouse. But like you said, I don't know that there is one. Even Montreal, even with Davis Alexander, it's not like they're out there putting up 35 points a game or anything like that. It's their defense that carries them. All it takes is a few things to go wrong, a few busts here and there, and they can be beat too. Like the Argos had a chance to be 3-0 against the Alouettes this year, ended up being 0-3 instead. Those were all winnable games. Now, not all with Davis Alexander, but 2 of them were.
Yeah, no, it's a very, the league is, there's nobody really standing out, but the Argos just don't have the personnel to compete at the level that they have the last 2 years. Like, if you look at the roster of the last 2 years and this year's roster, it is significantly, starting with Chad Kelly, it is significantly below what the previous 2 years were. So it's not really, I would say, a surprise or even, not even that disappointing, to be honest. I think that they're playing at the level of talent that they have on the team. I don't think they're underperforming. I just think the team is not very good right now.
Well, you can't take $700,000 off any team's payroll and expect them to look good for an entire season. You find, and this is probably a topic for a season wrap up or something else, but just since we're on it.
Well, is that not what we're doing?
Well, sort of. I guess we are in a way. Feels like a eulogy, but you can't. To name another CFL team in the league that has their starting quarterback not take a single snap all season and makes the playoffs, and there isn't one. Without Nathan Rourke, there's no chance they're a playoff team. Without Zach Collaros, I know Strevler's win-loss record is actually good, but there's the chance that if they had to go the whole season with Strevler, that team would make the playoffs. Vernon Adams out in Calgary, no chance that teams make it. Trevor Harris in Saskatchewan, as good as that team is, everywhere else there's no way. You saw what happened to Montreal when they lost Davis Alexander. They went into a 5-game losing streak. No team in the CFL can withstand that. And as well as Nick Arbuckle played this year, he is still not a replacement for the highest paid player in the league because it changes the dynamics. And Arbuckle had a great year. He did way more than would ever be expected of a backup quarterback and was legitimately in MOP conversations. But like we documented throughout, it changes the way that teams play them defensively. It changes their ability to run the football. It changes a lot of different things. And I think being in as many games as they were is probably beyond expectations. I think you look back at this season, and that's the one thing that could have gone so much differently. But it's not even just that. We were talking in the broadcast today about reminiscing about losing like Brian Cox Jr. in preseason, where he was expected to be a star defensive end, and DeMarcus Christmas, who started out so well as the defensive tackle spot. These guys are basically two defensive studs that were gone for the season, like from the word go. And you add that to Chad Kelly, and this year wasn't meant to be.
Right. On top of losing Holly, losing Sresnick, losing Brinkman. I mean that's a lot. So anyways, not to to sort of belabor it, but they were a team that had a flawed lineup, and they played flawed football, and thankfully it's almost over.
Let's talk about a few more moments from the game that I wanted your thought on. The touchdown that Tavares McFadden almost picked. I would love to know how you saw that, because to me, it looked like Tavares was on it the whole way. Kind of like he was on the one that he actually did pick, where he saw it the whole way, he read it, he drifted, he caught the ball, initiated the return. The one up against O'Leary Orange, it looked like the same thing. Like, it looked like he saw where it was going. He thought he was there in time. And it looked to me like he didn't realize the receiver was right there. And it looked like he was maybe a bit too casual in reaching up to catch it. But maybe my angle's off. I didn't get to see a replay of that one. How did you see that play?
It looked like I had sort of metal bars in the way looking at it. But it looked like, I think, just the Hamilton receiver had better leverage and was able to kind of twist his body and rip it, as opposed to the player on top who didn't have the leverage to twist his body that way. I think that's what it looked like to me through the metal bar.
Yeah, and that was such a crushing momentum killer too at the time.
Yeah, the Lawler touchdown was a crusher too, where the DB, I don't know if it was Bratton or not. I don't want to keep pounding on him, but he sort of like came up looking like maybe run support, and then Lawler ran right past him in the second half.
Yeah, what I saw on that play was it looked like cover two to me, and it looked to me like Sluka and Bratton had deep, but they sent Robinson, the tall sort of tight endish guy, right up the middle between them. Franklin had flats, so Franklin trailed with Lawler for a little bit, but then he had to pass him off to Bratton because there was a threat in the flats. He came up. But Bratton had too much focus on Robinson splitting the two of them in the middle, and he just drifted too far and couldn't recover when Bo went to Lawler. There are a few plays, like I said, on Bratton today where I just feel like he was lured by the candy in front of him, where they had either a crosser or something else to look at, and maybe that's something that Hamilton saw on film and thought they could exploit. I don't know though, because I feel like we've seen better play from Bratton this season. Like, he doesn't seem like the type of DB you can do that to. And I certainly haven't seen anything on film to suggest that.
We haven't seen those busts this year.
I know.
Funnily enough, like other years, there were some bust issues, but we haven't seen those busts. But I mean, clearly Hamilton saw something. They kept attacking the defensive right side. They clearly saw some issues with zone coverage and the guy running the rail, and clearly saw that that the DBs were having a hard time in the zone when you send two guys, because that is really hard.
Yeah.
First of all, cover two is very in Canadian football.
It's a lot of space.
You're really hoping it's not a pass. Like, you're rolling the dice that it's run when you run cover two, because cover two, when they throw the ball, is a problem. And to ask a guy to be like, cover this dude and also this other dude 20 yards away from you, you look bad, but it's not a defense designed to. It's not a defense to design to cover two guys run deep.
And I'm not positive that Lawler touchdown was 2. Again, not seeing much in the way of replays of that, but it looked, if it's not 2, it's quarter, half, or cover 4 cloud weak. Same idea. Like, you're left basically with half of the field. That was what Bratton was left with. And that's just a lot of space to deal with, even if you're on the boundary side. In terms of the some of the nice plays the defense made, and there was actually, before we get to that, the other bust that I saw, Bo didn't take advantage of. There's another play where Keandre Smith was wide open up the seam, and nobody went with him at all, and Bo threw to the other side, like, thank goodness. But it just wasn't a great day for them there. There were some nice moments. I thought Jamin Pelly had a couple of nice pass rushes, a couple of nice pressures, especially out of a 3-man line. But just Toronto needed more of that. The problem is with Bo, and you saw this, like when Toronto would blitz, it's so dangerous because a quarterback like that, when you blitz him, he can just pick you apart. And they did that. He did that a few times to the Argos. And so you need to win in a 3-man and a 4-man line and just overload on coverage and hope that Bo ends up just sort of eating it. But yeah, he did well to scramble, ran for a first down, and
I thought the receivers played well, like as best they could. They were certainly getting a lot of balls in traffic.
Yeah.
And a lot of balls, like, not necessarily the safest throws in the world.
I know. DiGi has guts. Like, he will fire it when the window's like, a foot wide. He will fire it in there.
He'll also fire it when the window is closed and there's a large wooden board in front of the window. So
at times,
I'm not sure if he's making the decision on the window closing. But anyway, I thought McCall played really tough, nice touchdown.
Yeah.
He's a star. I think that he has shown that this year, and when he's 100% healthy, I would think next year, that he will be a focus of the offense, because I think he gives you so many different weapons. He's incredibly strong. He's thick. He's fast. So he was great. I thought Pope looked great. I thought receiver-wise, they fought hard. Those receivers were doing everything they could, to keep the sticks moving. It's just they had some long, terrible sacks that killed drives. But I thought the offense, punched as well as they could to fight to keep this the ball game. And of course, my guy, Hero, just ice cold all day.
Yeah, I thought Spencer Brown ran the ball fairly well. I thought they had a couple cleverly designed plays. Some plays we haven't seen the Argos run before, like that crack pitch that they ran in the first half. Yeah. They haven't run that. They've never run that in Coach Dinwiddie's offense. And you can't run it a ton, but it worked really well. It's not like old school crack pitch where you come and just blow up the contain man. But Polk came in and basically set a pick.
Lowercase p pitch.
Yeah, lowercase crack. But it was a nice play, and that went for, I think, 26. That was a nice run. But I thought it was too bad because they had the run game going, but they just couldn't use it because they were down by so much in the second half. They never really got a chance to lean on that.
And the red zone just collapsed because as soon as it was like an obvious passing down, it was just a jailbreak.
Yeah.
And
with a 4-man rush.
And they couldn't run the ball in the red zone, so it doesn't leave you a ton of options in the playbook when you can't run and you can't pass.
DiGi ended up 34 of 49 for 323, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. One of the interceptions is entirely on him. He just did not see Moxie sitting there. He was trying to hit Brissett on, I think, a corner route and just threw it directly to Moxie. Never saw him. A couple were on receivers. Like one particularly, Polk had a good game, but one of the picks was Polk just kind of just chucked the ball up in the air. He was trying to catch it, obviously, but I think he saw pressure coming from the inside. There was a linebacker bearing down on him. Didn't catch it cleanly. It popped up into the air. I think that was one of Katsantonis' picks. He had many. And I can't remember who was charged with, who I kind of mentally charged with the other one, but generally the receivers played well. Brissett led the way in yardage, 8 catches for 97. Polk, 8 catches for 88. Unger, 6 catches for 60 and a touchdown. And then Mittal, who's came into the week leading the league in receptions, has a chance to go over 100 catches on the season when he'd be only, I believe, the 5th Argonaut to do that in history, which is saying something. All those guys are are like Hall of Famers, the other guys that have done it. So Mital obviously having a great year. And then switching over to the other side of the football, if I told you that Lawler would have 3 catches on the day for 63 yards, you would take that. But 2 of those 3 catches were touchdowns, and then there were 2 other guys that were around the 100-yard mark. Keandre Smith with 98, O'Leary Orange with 111, including an 87-yard touchdown on another tremendous bust. It was not meant to be. Bo Levi Mitchell ended up with 320 yards and 4 touchdowns on only 18 completions. Tells you a lot of that story. The interception was nice by McFadden. Read that the whole way. I can't believe Bo threw that. But there just weren't enough highlights on either the offense or the defense to come away with a win for this one. Final takeaways, JB. We got to wrap this thing up. Huge crowd today. Over 22,000 tickets sold or around that mark. I was told, I believe 19,800 and something made it into the building, which is saying something with a Jays game going on just 2 kilometers down the road here behind me. I was really impressed with the turnout today. We'll wait to see the impact of the Future of Football program that they had running here today. Doug Flutie, Jim Kelly on hand. I got to share a quick story, JB, because I thought this was fantastic. Jim Kelly and Doug Flutie were throwing T-shirts into the stands at one point during the T-shirt giveaway. They've got the mascots there firing the T-shirt cannons, and both Kelly and Flutie ran out of shirts to throw. And the break wasn't over yet, and they immediately started scrambling around the sideline to find more shirts to throw. They wanted to get more shirts into the crowd for the fans, and I thought that was amazing. It was 2 people that weren't just like, I'm being paid to be here, so I'll just be here, show up and wave. The fact that they're scrambling around and taking more T-shirts off of these assistants that are there, and some of the crew that was throwing T-shirts into the stands are like, no, I'm taking those. I'm going to throw these shirts. And they each got about 5 or 6 more shirts launched into the stands. Flutie scrambling to throw, and Kelly just like firing missiles.
They both had fantastic mechanics as well. Beautiful finger across the body into the pocket. I mean, it was gorgeous to watch.
For a T-shirt throw, there are none better than perhaps Doug Flutie and Jim Kelly. That was pretty cool. And I realized for the first time, I never knew this. For as many years as I've seen that Buffalo Bills mascot, I thought, and it never made sense to me, I thought that his number was 88. It looked like 88 on his jersey. And I only realized today in seeing it up close, it's actually BB for Bill Buffalo or Billy Buffalo, the name of the mascot. And
I don't think he used Buffalo Bill. I think that's,
not Buffalo Bill.
I believe that's
Billy the Buffalo. Buffalo Bill might be it's a Western cowboy. Very different origin
also
story.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, I was thinking about the Wild West hero villain. But yes, that's a different guy too, and maybe for another podcast, not this one.
that'll come up in our movie podcast, which will be next week after the game,
as we try to fill some time. That will just about do it for us on this one. Again, this doesn't feel as bad as some of the heartbreakers we've gone through. To end the season on another one of those would have been worse. This feeling over in the first half, kind of alleviates the pain a little bit from what has been a very painful season for the Toronto Argonauts, but we move into evaluation time going forward. Again, the final score from BMO Field, the Ticats 47, the Toronto Argonauts 29. For JB, this has Ben Grant saying so long, and may all your pre-snap reads be good ones. I'll see ya.
Go Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the